Good morning, good morning, good morning. You're all wonderful people of Church, Crossville Church. Yeah, you're VIPs, you know that?
Yes.
Yeah, amen. No matter what happened in the last week or a week before, you're still God's loved. And I know this because I'm one of you. And some of you know that I lost my job a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, 12 years with the company, it hurts. I'm not saying that it doesn't, but you know, at some point it's not okay. We use that microphone, right? Yeah. And by the way, you are making for a good choir. With the church like this, who needs a choir, right? Yeah. So, anyways, at some point you can say, "It is well with my soul." I mean, what can you do? Like, it is what it is. And comparing to this song, losing a job, even this good, is nothing. I mean, comparing to losing your wife and your kids, it's nothing. And you can compare different things and see that they are better or worse, and even losing your family is not that big than losing your life for all eternity or losing your family for all eternity. That would be even worse. That would be even worse. So, all right, let's get into our imaginary DeLorean. We love that DeLorean, right? Traveling in time and sometimes in space. And let's go to the 16th century of France. You're in Paris. You're in Paris, right? And this is the 16th century, and this is the century of the Reformation. And you know what that entails, right? And France was not immune to Reformation. They had their own Protestants. They were called, do you remember how they were called? Starts with an H. Huguenots. Yeah, so they were called Huguenots, and the 16th century, especially the end of the 16th century, was known as the French Wars of Religion. But this word wars, really an exaggeration, because what it was technically a bunch of massacres. When the Catholic majority would, and those are just a couple of those, would basically wipe out the Protestant population whenever they could. And the Protestants amounted for about 10% of the France at that point, and they went from the regular people to nobility, to like highest ranks, Huguenots. At that time, but the most known, and I'm sure you know that, the most known massacre happened in 1572, in August of 1572 in Paris. And it's known as Saint Bartholomew's Day, right? And that was a huge one. That actually triggered a huge, big massacre throughout the whole France. At that point, the country was ruled by the Catholic family, Charles IX, this guy. Oops, no, back. This guy, yeah, okay. So this guy, he was ruling the country. His mama, Catherine, is known like black queen. She was very ruthless, right? And these two guys devised a plan. In August, they had a wedding of Charles' sister Margaret with Henry III. And this guy was a Protestant. He was a Huguenot. So what they decided to basically kill the leader of the Huguenots, and this was an admiral, French admiral, Gaspard de Coligny. They decided to hire an assassin and and kill him. But that assassin was not really a good assassin, probably, because he just wounded the guy. And the king, the royal family was afraid of retaliation. So they put up a show that they were like really upset about this, and they came to this guy, to this admiral, and said like we're looking into it, we're going to handle this. And this should have been a warning to all the Protestant nobility that came to Paris for this wedding. They should start thinking, something is going on. And there were other things that would tell them that there's something wrong coming, something really bad. But these guys, they were so loyal to the crown and so attached to their positions of power that they decided not to do anything. They just like the people that are in imminent danger, and they sing the song like, don't worry about the thing, every little thing is gonna be alright. And I love this song, but when you're in danger, it's not the time to sing those songs. You must do something, and this is because they were this complacent and so loving, and they took this reassuring from the royal family that everything is going to be all right, so they didn't do anything. And that inactivity costed them and thousands others their lives. Because 2 days later, after the failed assassination, this is what happened. The royal family ordered to lock the gates of Paris, to chain all the ships that were docked in Paris so nobody escapes, and then armed the civilians and used the military to go throughout the Paris and kill every single one Protestant, no matter who they were, noble or not. They were looting their shops and their houses and slaughtering everybody. An estimated 3,000 people died that night, only in Paris. But then it spread out to Lyon and other cities, and it was a massacre for 7 days. I don't want to go deep into this, but just want to point it out that sometimes inactivity can not only be bad, it can be deadly. And this is why James, well, again, his name is what? Jacob. Yes, his real name is Jacob. James in 2nd chapter 17, he says, even so faith, if it has no works, is dead, being by itself. Faith, did these people have faith? Of course they did. They believed in God. They were Protestants. Did these people see the signs of something coming? I'll give you an example. One of the nobility, Protestant nobility, was friends with the royal family, and they offered him to hide in their palace of Versailles, right? Versailles. Yeah. But he dismissed that. He said, well, their feet stink. So he did not go there. So that costed him life as well. I mean, they had the signs, but they dismissed those. And their inactivity. Sometimes you bring some problems by your actions, but sometimes it's just inaction. And this is why Jacob says that your faith is dead. And not just dead, it's deadly. It's not just idle, it's deadly. So today's obstacle is an idle faith. Faith that without works, faith that doesn't work. Faith that does not act. So this is what Jacob also said. But sometimes someone may say, you have faith and I have works. Show me your faith without the works, and I will show you my faith by my works. You believe that God is one, you do well. The demons also believe and shudder. But are you willing to recognize, you foolish fellow, that faith without works is useless? Can you believe this? You can be a believer without faith. It sounds like oxymoron, but it's not. Let me illustrate it to you. When you tell your kid, I believe in you, what do you mean? You trust. You believe in his potential. You believe in his future. Right? That's totally different when we ask this question, do you believe in God? Normally people mean what? Do you believe in God's existence? Right? Like, look at me. Do you believe I exist?
Yeah.
Of course. that's obvious. But do you believe in me? That's a totally different question, right? So when we ask, do you believe in God? What do we mean? Do we mean just believe in a higher power, that there's the guy upstairs, or there's gods of some kind, some sort? No, we don't mean that. When we ask each other and ourselves, do I believe in God? What I mean is, do I trust Him enough to act? That's what James is saying. He's saying, like, you have all the doctrines down. You have the most perfect theology, right? You follow all the precepts of your denomination. You jump through all the religious hoops. That's great. But he said, like, you know what? Demons believe in God too. They're not atheists. They know God exists. So what? So what? You can have all your faith things nailed down to perfection and yet be an unbeliever. Because if you don't trust God in your smallest, simplest things, that means your faith is really dead or idle. If you don't act upon it, it may be deadly. You see, those things, those doubts, those fears, they not only make our faith idle, but also can kill our faith in the process. And that's really sad. This is why Jesus said in John 14:1, Jesus said this, do not let your heart be troubled. Believe in God. Believe also in me. And mind you, he's talking to his disciples. Did they believe Jesus existed? Yes. Did they believe that God existed? Yes. They were Jews. Of course they believed that. But what does he mean here? And to what he is contrasting faith? Letting your heart what? To be troubled. There are a lot of things that come our way that trouble our hearts. Fears, what if something happens, those things, doubts. And it's our responsibility to let our heart to be troubled by those things, or what? Or what? Believe in God. Believe in Jesus. You see, you cannot do both at the same time. He's like saying, you cannot trouble your heart by your fears, your doubts, and at the same time you trust me. No, you have to choose. That's your choice. That's your choice. You have to choose. And this is why the good test, where you still not trusting God, is your worry. My worry. If I worry about my family, if I worry about my job, if not my income, my future, my kids, if I let those worries into my heart, that means in that area I do not trust God. I still micromanage Him. You know, God, yes, I commit my family to you, but let me take care of that. I know better. Oh, no, God, I'll commit my career to you, but let me handle that. That I know how to do. And you start worrying because you really can't. In the biggest scheme of things come that out of your control, out of your pedigree, then of course you're worried. Of course you're worried, and you better be, because you can't. But if you say, God, this is the area I'm going to trust you with. I'm going to entrust my finances to you. I'm going to entrust my family. I'm going to entrust my health. I'm going to entrust my future, my career to you. God, this is what it means to believe in God and to believe in Jesus. That's what it means. Not just in His existence. Of course, we nailed out that one for sure. But let's get back to our DeLorean and go back to our past and go to Israel a long time ago in the Old Testament. So here's what happened. Abraham and his nephew Lot had a quarrel. Not them, but their shepherds. So they decided to go separate ways. And Abraham said, hey Lot, you want to go to the right, I'll go to the left. If you want to go to the left, I'll go to the right. Let's not quarrel. Let's just separate. And sometimes that's what you need to do. But Lot decided to choose the most fertile place where there's water, where there's food, vegetation, and people live in relative prosperity, and that would be Sodom and Gomorrah. 2 cities. So he chose one of them, Sodom. And as you know, that city was not exactly righteous. So God decided to burn this thing down. But Abraham prayed for Lot and for his family to be saved. And God sent 2 angels in the human form to save that family. And that's what when we go to Genesis chapter 19. Genesis chapter 19, and we'll read from verse 12 to 26. 19, chapter, verses 12 through 26. Then the 2 men said to Lot, whom else have you here? A son-in-law, and your sons, and your daughters, and whomever you have in the city, bring them out of this place, of the place. For we are about to destroy this place, because their outcry has become so great before the Lord that the Lord has sent us to destroy it. Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law, who were to marry his daughters, and he said, get out of this place, for the Lord will destroy the city. But he appeared to his sons-in-law to be joking. I'm just kidding, right? When morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or you will be swept away in the punishment of the city. But he hesitated. So the man seized his hand and the hand of his wife and the hands of his 2 daughters, for the compassion of the Lord was upon him. And they brought him out and put him outside the city. When they had brought them outside, one said, escape for your life. Do not look behind, and do not stay anywhere in the valley. Escape to the mountains, or you will be swept away. But Lot said to them, oh no, my lords. He keeps arguing. I don't know. Oh no, my lords. Now behold, your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have magnified your loving kindness, which you have shown me by saving my life. But I cannot escape to the mountains, for the disaster will overtake, again, fears and worries, like disaster will overtake me and I will die. Now behold, this town is near. Now enough to flee to. And it is small. Please, let me escape there. Is it not small, that my life may be saved? He said to him, behold, I grant you this request also, not to overthrow the city of which you have spoken. Hurry, escape there, for I cannot do anything until you arrive there. Therefore, the name of the town was called Zoar. The sun has risen over, and the earth over the earth, and when Lot came to Zoar, then the Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven, and he overthrew those cities and all the valley and all the inhabitants of the city and what grew on the ground. But his wife, from behind him, looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. She did exactly what these men told Lot not to do. They said, escape for your life. Do not look behind you. See verse 17? Do not look behind you. Why did she look behind? I mean, we can argue that women are more, prompt to put their roots, especially if they have kids. Protecting nature of a woman. We can argue about that, but that was not it. That was not it. She looked back because she looked back, because she chose to. Knowing well that she shouldn't be doing this. But she stopped, she looked back, and froze. There's this little thing near that site that is known to be Lot's wife. But of course, it's just a rock. But anyways, you can kind of get a picture. Was it the real salt? We don't know. Nobody licked her. But it could be just some kind of, crystallization or something. But she did turn into something immovable. And that's what happens to us. When we fear, when we argue, when we doubt, we freeze. That completely demotivates us to act on our faith. And that's what James is talking about. If you freeze, if you look back, if you constantly look back, you don't do anything. You're just constantly looking, what if it's not going to work? What if I'm going to fail? What if this is going to happen? Or what this is going to... Those fears just freeze you, and you're not doing anything. It just sucks life out of you. So how do you handle that? Well, go back to what Jesus said. Do not let your heart be troubled. What? Then he said what? Believe in God and believe also in me. How do you break that cycle? Well, you start trusting. Just like, God, I know in this area I have a lot of troubles, and you know my heart. So I'm going to trust you. And trusting God is a totally different thing than just believing that God is somewhere there. You lean on something invisible. When Peter was walking on the water, he wasn't walking on the water. Water does not hold a person. We know that. We tried. It doesn't work. But he was leaning on something invisible that was holding him on the top of that water. Try that. Try trusting God in those areas where very well known, knowing that He's invisible and you don't see how He works, but you still trust Him. And that's what I want us to do today. I want to ask us to do something special today. I'm going to ask you to take 5 minutes and pray. Whether it's allowed or not, it's up to you. I'm not going to pressure that. But pray. Do do some soul searching and see what area of your life is still tormenting you with these worries, where you are still micromanaging your life, and do not let God do that. And then ask God for forgiveness for what you have been doing all this time, and just say, God, I trust you with this. I want you to take charge. I dedicate this area of my life to you, and I'm going to trust you no matter what. Let's bow our heads. And if you are still not in personal relations with God, you need to dedicate the whole life to God. In order to do that, you have to repent. You have to say, God, I'm a sinner. I know I'm a sinner. Please forgive my sins and come into my heart and change me. I trust you with my life for the eternity. Let's pray.